Take it away.
All right. Thank you. My name is Rich Murg, and I am the Vice President of Sales and Marketing at Bioclinica Software. And with me is Nicholas Klatt, and together we are going to present Bioclinica CTMS. So here's a slide that shows all the things that Bioclinica does, and this is pre-merger with ERT, I'm responsible for the Clinical Trial Software Solutions division, and this encompasses CTMS, EDC, RTSM, and site and patient payments. Just know that all of our products work together. They're all integrated on the back end. We are getting very close to unifying the front end, but at this point, you have distinct logins and interfaces. And today we're going to talk about the clinical trial management system. So the big value proposition for Bioclinica CTMS is that it is what we call Office Smart, and the way that it works with the Microsoft Office suite. And then second is the deployment model. So let's talk a little bit about those. So first, we are on version 3.8, and the system has been in production, version 1, since 2006. We have more than 2,000 studies managed and over 600 integrations with this system. So we have certainly been through the battles of clinical research, right? We've been through the very difficult studies, the very easy studies, and we are one of the major players in this marketplace. So I'd like to just spend about 5 minutes going over what this system is, what makes it different before we actually see a demonstration. I'll be about maybe 5-6 minutes, and then Nick will be about 15. So overall, at the heart of Bioclinica CTMS is a 3-tier architected system, right? It will track your studies, your investigators, your clinical sites, your monitors, and across all of your studies. That takes a relational database. There's a lot of systems out there that say that they are a CTMS. However, when you pull back the covers, they're really EDC systems that will deliver operational information about your study. But if you want to take and track all of these things across all of your studies, you need a relational database, and so that makes the competitors in this space, Veeva, Medidata, Oracle, and Impact. Okay, so if those are the systems that you're looking at, something where you want to manage all of your trials and put all of your clinical information in there and manage your studies consistently, that's this product. And so what we've done to make this different than those other solutions is that we have created a bidirectional integration with Microsoft SharePoint. And so every database element in Bioclinica CTMS is a native SharePoint content type. Okay, so bidirectional means it changes in one place, it changes in the other. So instead of forcing your study teams, your monitors, to learn a new CTMS, you present your CTMS in a portal, a very easy to navigate portal. We furnish these to you. You can use our portals, you can create your own, but it's very intuitive. You'll see that in the demonstration. And once you have your information in SharePoint, well then all of a sudden you are integrated with the Microsoft Office suite of products, right? So this is really interesting in that information from your CTMS can extend through SharePoint into Office. The best example of this is your monitoring visit reports, where the monitor may be ready to go on site when that resumes, or monitor remotely. and the system will fill out in a Word document all of the information that pertains to that visit. The monitor will go through, edit that Word document, and once it's finished up, we'll submit it through SharePoint, and eventually all that information all those changes will end up back into CTMS. So it's a monitoring visit report solution that's unlike any others, and you'll get a brief glimpse of that in the demonstration, but it's very powerful. But it can also extend out to Outlook, where if you want your study teams to be ready to be contacted on smartphone. It can extend out to spreadsheets. So those spreadsheets that you love and you just can't part with, you simply configure them into SharePoint, and then the CTMS information it dynamically transfers between the spreadsheet and CTMS. So it's a very, very interesting solution. In fact, some of your users may not even know that they're dealing with a CTMS. So you'll see that in a demonstration. So that's the one big value proposition. And the other one, as I said, is the way that we roll it out. So for many years we would have a consulting engagement that would last 2 or 3 months and figure out exactly what you wanted to name certain fields and how you wanted to manage the CTMS. And after a while, we began to realize that, boy, they look an awful lot alike. Instead of spending 4 or 5 months implementing a system, we can give you a best practices system and not charge you for that consulting engagement. So that's what we do today. We give you a best practices system and have you up and running within 3 weeks. And it'll take more time if we're going to configure your monitoring visit reports, and we're going to integrate a different EDC system other than ours, or a different eTMF other than ours. But overall, you're up and running in a very short period of time, and we'll charge about $100,000 for that install. And then from that point forward, at the end of every month, you are invoiced on what you use based on the number of studies and the number of users and the number of SharePoint users, and that's it. So you don't have to come up with a number of licenses in January and hope that you use them. You simply are charged for what you use. And then earlier this year, we rolled out the eTMF document library. And so because we utilize SharePoint, we went and created an eTMF solution based on SharePoint. However, it does take quite a bit of work to get that done. It's just not SharePoint out of the box. This supports the DIA reference model. It's 21 CFR Part 11 compliant, and this is a very solid study document solution. It's very solid, and then at the end of the study, you can migrate these documents over to wherever you're going to store your documents. We have SharePoint partners and other partners that can provide document management solutions for the life of those documents. So for this, there's no additional upfront fees, and it's $500 per month per study. So overall, this should be very intriguing if you are looking at making an investment into CTMS, as those competitors that I've spoken about, those are normally $1 million investments and several months of effort. This, once again, we can get you started for about $100,000 in less than a month. With that, I will turn the screen over to Nick. Nick, show us Bioclinica CTMS.
All right. Hello, everyone, and you got it, Rich. Let me go ahead and share my screen here. All right, Rich, just making sure I'm showing Bioclinica CTMS on my screen here.
I don't see it yet. There you go. Got it.
There we go. Okay. So Rich does the hard part. I get the fun part of showing you the actual system. So as we all know, CTMS is kind of this way that you're going to manage all your moving parts in the study. And as Rich talked about, it's providing a relational database where you bring in all the data, all the metadata. from all those other systems, your EDCs, your IRTs. How Bioclinica does this is mainly through our SharePoint Portal, which is giving you a very configurable and streamlined, familiar environment to access your CTMS solution from. And we mentioned that it's an Office Smart technology and it's deployable within 2 to 3 weeks. So let's just take a look at how easy this is to use from different situations, maybe whether you're hunting down if a subject's on track with their visit schedule, so you're looking at their EDC visits, or maybe you're taking a look at which of your CRAs are effectively getting their visit reports submitted. Let's take that first example, though, and run with it. This is the SharePoint interface. I'm in our study 005. I can come over into our activities bar. It's going to be the one ways we navigate through this system. We can come into subject management, and we can view our subject visits list. So here we're pulling in a EDC solution. And because this is a Microsoft Office environment, the filtering features, the sorting features are very easy and understandable to use. So I'm looking specifically for my subject, let's say 003 here. I want to sort my dates by ascending. All right, with just a few clicks, I can already see that I have 3 out-of-window visits. Maybe it looks to me like this subject, their visit schedule has been shifted for some reason. Maybe they are late and it's a compounding problem. So now we can immediately take that data that we've seen flown in and we can translate it into an action. We can come back into our activities bar, open up action items, and click add new action item. Right, so here we're seeing the fact that CTMS is bringing in that data, but we can also use it to manage our trial. So here we are. Once we're actually in our menu, we can select what site, let's say a 002. It'll pre-fill some information for us. We'll put in a category, of course, and a brief description. So for here, we want our monitor to follow up. Why is these visits showing up out of schedule? What happened? And then we can simply assign it to one of our monitors. For me, I'll do my colleague Blaine here, and then we'll set a due date, let's say in a few weeks. And then we click save, and it put it in our action items list. So that action right there, you saw me at about 2 minutes in, 2 minutes to accomplish that task, knowing that I need to search through those visits. That's the strength of having a centralized application to do it like a CTMS. Now, you're also going to want reports, so you're going to want to see more generalized data to see trends and get a more bird's eye view. So for that, let's hop into the enhanced reports and think about that second use case I talked about. Maybe we're looking at our visit performance of our monitors. We can jump into visit performance by site monitor. We're going to open up this report, filter down to what we're looking for. So maybe we want to see across all our studies that we have in CTMS. Now, right away, we can see maybe we have a specific monitor or group of monitors where their days to submission and approval are way beyond all the others. And maybe they need some training or we need to work to see what's happening there. This kind of information download is going to be very easy in the Bioclinica CTMS solution. We can download this in a bunch of formats. We can go ahead and email this to our colleagues. And again, we have great filtering that you expect in those Microsoft Office products. Now, Rich did talk about something that's also going to be central in a CTMS solution, and that's going to be your monitoring visit reports and your monitoring visit activities. And we can handle managing that full stop inside this solution, and we do it very well because we have that integration. On the right side of our activities, again, we put, let's just give it a second there. There we go. It doesn't like this screen sharing nonsense, does it? All right, so we're coming back in. And if we come down to, say, our monitoring activities bar, here's where it probably is going to start, where you can assign those visits, put them on a calendar. As Rich talked about, we can link that into an Outlook calendar so it flows right in for your monitors. We have the site review tab, so they're able to review site information before they even step on a plane or if they're doing some kind of virtual visit. And then we have the actual visit reports themselves. And the really cool thing here is that this is going to be done in a Microsoft Word environment. I could come in, click Files, create a report. All right, it's going to load up templates. Again, as Rich mentioned, we have our own templates here at Bioclinica, but if you want to link in your own, we can actually enable smart features in your own documents and bring those in. So we fill out the rest of our information here, select a site, select a pertinent visit, and then put in the location as well. We click Create Report, and it's going to generate that Word document. And the really great thing about downloading a Word document rather than just doing something solely online is, again, if I'm on that plane, if I'm at a site with spotty coverage, or for some reason I'm in the jungle in Brazil, I can still do my work. I can still do my visit report in Microsoft Word. And then when I'm back in Wi-Fi, I can come in and actually upload that document. All right, so here we've seen it load right up in front of me. I hesitate to use the word exciting when I talk about Microsoft Word, but it's a very cool experience to open this up and see CTMS has pre-filled out much of this document for me. It already knows the address, my name, the investigator's name, so of course it's going to put it in here for us. And if we come into our drop-downs, it's still preloading this information as well. Scrolling down, we're going to go ahead, fill out our report. We'll put in our check marks. And if we have any comments to make, we can type in our comments. And then as we scroll down to the bottom of our visit here, the other really cool feature that I like to point out is we have these deviations and action items. So if I'm on site and I note a deviation, I can go ahead, put that in the Word document itself. If I'm closing out an action item, maybe the one I mentioned earlier, I can do that again from within the Word document. Go ahead, upload this. It goes and gets approved. CTMS is going to pull all that information in. I'm not going to need to type in anything again. It's doing all of that work for us, and we're just getting to put in this data in an environment we're all familiar with. Let's hop out of this Word document. The approval process is also going to be centrally located within the CTMS. So you pretty much get a notification if you're a reviewer, do your review or send back any details, and then the system will in turn notify the initial submitter. So it's all centralized. There's going to be no emailing back and forth loose Word documents. Moving from our visit reports, which are a really cool feature, another awesome thing that we've put in is this eTMF functionality we heard Rich talk about. And these three primary tabs down here are what we're using for it. Again, this is a fully Part 21 CFR 11 Part 11 compliant solution following the DIA reference model. The document library here is going to be where we store the actual documents themselves. The task list, if you have approvals and workflows that need your visualization, you go into here. You can do your signing within this eTMF module. And then we have our eTMF document placeholders. Now, placeholders are an important part of an eTMF. I'm sure all of us know that have to handle these documents, because when you open a site, the system needs to know, hey, we need a 1572, we need a CV. All right, and if we don't get these things, we need to be aware of it, and we need to be able to track them down and get them uploaded and signed. So these placeholders are a key part of this eTMF, and it works very easily in this solution. Coming back to our document library here, uploading is going to be simple as you could expect based on the rest of the actual system here. Choose file. Let's say I got a 1572 here for site 002. We click OK. It's going to go ahead and actually add the document into the system, and then it's going to open a menu where we see that DIA reference model really come in here. So we have our different domains, content types, artifacts, and also no matter how we're handling our approval process, if we're going to do it within this eTMF solution, we can do that. Otherwise, if you have external processes such as maybe a wet ink policy, maybe you use DocuSign, you can mark that off as such within the document, all right, so that we can take care of whatever way you're using to approve your documentation. Let's hop out of here. And the last thing I really want to talk about is the difference between the SharePoint portal and how we give you that 2 to 3 week timeline, because it involves the core CTMS. The SharePoint portal is going to be where 95% of your activities are taking place, because again, it's very configurable. It's very easy to use. We all know it. But when it comes to setting up your studies and setting up your actual system, we utilize the core CTMS we call, and I like to think it's the engine driving all of this. Let's hop over to it. This is a single sign-on solution, so don't worry about that. And then there's probably going to be one, maybe a handful of users in here actually managing and setting up your studies. But any information shared between the two is going to be the same. So milestone dates, same if I view it in SharePoint. If I'm viewing visit pulled in from EDC, it's going to look the same as in SharePoint. The big thing is configuring your studies and system. So if we come into our study management, go into any study, we're going to see a study builder. You should expect that in any CTMS, by the way. It's very important to have an easy to build solution set up. But what really differentiates us, again, as Rich mentioned, is we've been in the CTMS industry for a very long time. So we have a best practices kind of out of the box configuration for things like nomenclature. If I come in here, traditional system, you might be sitting with someone for all 20 pages of this, deciding what SAE should be called, deciding what SAEs plural should be called, a screen failed. With us, we realize 95% of these look the same. We deliver you a best practices, and if you want to come in and tweak things, absolutely. It'll go a lot easier than you sitting down with me, taking months of time and lots of money doing it that way. All right, let's back out of this and come back just to our SharePoint. See, we're coming right up at 330, 331 here, so I just want to kind of recap. This SharePoint portal, it's going to be where most of your activities, all your monitoring, that's all done from here. It's all very configurable, and if you have users that are familiar with this SharePoint environment, you can actually do a lot of these edits yourself without even any help from Bioclinica, though we're certainly there to support you if you want us. So things like creating new views, we have 150 already in here, but if you want to add more specific to what your organization needs, it's very easy to accomplish. And that's really the strong suit of using this SharePoint environment, as well as getting the ability to do things like your monitoring visit reports in Microsoft Word and all the efficiencies that come with that, doing it all from one solution in a comfortable environment. All right, so with that, that's about everything I wanted to show today. So let me go ahead and pass this back to Rich.
All right, so I don't see any questions. I'll give a minute for anyone to type questions if they like. And please feel free to stick around and join me in 1 hour as we will have a panel with some very qualified folks across the clinical operations spectrum, deep diving into clinical monitoring within the realm of decentralized and virtual trials. So it'll go about an hour, and we're going to go over a few questions and have a lot of opportunity to interact with these folks. You'll be able to learn exactly how they've dealt with COVID, decentralized trials, and maybe learn a little bit from them. Okay, so thank you so much. Hopefully you got something out of that. Doctor, take it away.
Let me take the reins. I can ask one or two questions before we jump to the next
right on.
list, if that's fine. So I know your system because I guess I used it probably in the last 5 or 10 years. One question I had was, do you have an API connected to to your TMF such that you can export it very easily to an ingestion engine that might be a digital dashboard that wants to use some of the information without having to use your entire bundled suite?
Yes. So it just depends. With the eTMF. With the eTMF, we can utilize somebody else's eTMF, right? Or we can utilize ours and then just export all of the documents, out to whatever system you happen to be using at the conclusion of the study. So there's two pretty ways to utilize our eTMF, I think.
Can you do a handshake with it so that it automatically allows the document, or at least the repository information, to be looked at externally, but not through your visualization environment, but someone else's.
Absolutely.
You can. Okay, because one of the differentiators, and I hope I'm not misspeaking, is that Viva does not have that. It does not have an eTMF API. And so one of the challenges there is to actually be able to, look at that information in a different environment as opposed to being dependent on going into that one. I might be a little bit more technical, but what I'm thinking in the sector is that there's so many of these, I'll call them point solutions or solutions. And as we talked about earlier, the interoperability, the connectivity, kind of the plug and play environment, not being dependent on an end-to-end solution for best in class. A lot of times the challenge in our sector is how do you get them connected and simply connected? And if they don't talk to each other, what do you do versus being handcuffed by that environment? Maybe you can talk about it now, and then we'll talk about it a little bit later during your panel.
Right. I mean, the big value of CTMS is to be able to manage your studies consistently regardless of source, right? And what that means is that you need to have a very powerful API so that you can easily integrate to any eTMF or EDC system. Those are really the two you normally deal with, and so we have over 600 integrations. That's paramount. I mean, because the CTMS is only as good as data getting in, so that's really a strength of ours.
Great. Yeah, I know
metadata.
Yeah, I know metadata has it. So, it's the big gorillas in the room, and the question is how flexible are they? But we'll chat more about it. So, thank you for your presentation. I always like to see the demos. It's kind of real world. It shows your capabilities, and that's terrific. So, we're going to shift gears slightly, and we'll stay within the services sector. Sam, you want to do your thing, or just tell everyone to move to the next stage?
Yeah, thank you once again, Richard and Nick, for your presentation. And we will be going to our next presenter, COVID-19 impact on